Next Monday has quite a lot of interesting things in store. Let us start with Carly, because her upcoming emotional breakdown is the catalyst for this entire chain reaction. Our fierce, unstoppable matriarch has finally been rescued from the suffocating, terrifying stone walls of Windermere. But there is no time for a tearful, relieved reunion, because the moment she breathes free air, she is hit with the devastating news that Jocelyn has been shot. Can you even begin to imagine the visceral terror of a mother hearing that her child's life is hanging by a thread? Carly's relief instantly morphs into a blinding, scorching rage. At the hospital, she is not just demanding answers, she is interrogating the doctors, cornering the nurses, and tearing through the corridors like a woman possessed by grief. She is entirely convinced that this tragic shooting is not a random accident or a crossfire casualty. In her mind, this is a calculated, deliberate strike by Jen Sidwell, a brutal act of revenge aimed directly at the heart of her family. This brings us to the inevitable vicious cycle that Carly is about to ignite, a cycle that threatens to consume everyone in her orbit. We all know Carly. She does not sit on the sidelines and wait for the police department to do their jobs, especially when her children are bleeding on a hospital bed. She is going to declare a one-woman war on Sidwell and anyone she believes is connected to his dark operations. But in her blind, desperate pursuit of vengeance, what catastrophic mistakes will she make? By taking the law into her own hands, she is going to set off a chain reaction that could destroy the very people she is trying to protect. Could her relentless crusade inadvertently expose Jason to even more danger while he sits in custody? Could her reckless actions force Sonny to retaliate in a way that brings the entire police force crashing down on the Corinthos legacy family? The dominoes are wobbling violently, ladies, and Carly's uncontrollable fury is the heavy wind that is going to knock them all down. Meanwhile, down at the police station, Danny and Charlotte are facing the intense, suffocating heat of an interrogation. On the surface, it looks like they are going to take the fall for the chaos on Spoon Island, paying the price for their misguided heroism. But here is where the manipulative scheme truly takes shape and twists our expectations. I believe their arrest is nothing more than a brilliant narrative decoy constructed by the writers. They are not going to confess to the crimes the authorities are trying to pin on them. Instead, they are going to drop a massive bombshell that will completely derail the ongoing investigation. What if they reveal that in the frantic, terrifying moments before the violence escalated at the castle, they saw a mysterious, unidentifiable figure lurking in the shadows of the Windermere tunnels? Just imagine the profound implications of that unexpected testimony. A shadow figure, someone who does not match the physical description of Ross Cullum, Jen Sidwell, or even the deceptive Cassius. This single piece of information is going to send shockwaves through the entire police department. Suddenly, the entire focus of the investigation shifts away from the teenagers and the immediate suspects. The authorities will have to consider the terrifying possibility that a completely unknown player is operating in Port Charles. But who could this phantom be? Is it a ruthless enforcer sent by the intelligence agency, or perhaps a dangerous ghost from the past who has returned to settle old scores? By providing this crucial clue, Danny and Charlotte are inadvertently setting another domino in motion, one that will lead the detectives down a dark and twisted rabbit hole, and pulling the attention away from the true horrors that are quietly unfolding behind closed doors. Now, let us move to the darkest, most emotionally charged corner of this theory. Britt is currently sitting behind bars, wrapped in the cold, unforgiving reality of a jail cell. But if you think she is worried about the severe legal charges hanging over her head, you are completely missing the emotional point. Britt's true terror comes from the inevitable, earth-shattering confrontation with her mother, Liesel. We know Liesel is demanding answers, pacing outside the cell like a caged tiger. She wants to know why her own daughter looked her in the eye and lied to her for months about the man claiming to be Nathan. The tension in that interrogation room is going to be thick enough to cut with a knife, filled with years of complicated mother-daughter trauma and unspoken betrayals. When Britt finally breaks under the immense pressure of her mother's piercing gaze, she is not going to offer a simple, tearful apology. No, she is going to reveal a hidden agenda that will leave Liesel completely breathless and staggering backward. I predict that Britt will tearfully confess that her silence was never about protecting Cassius. She despised Cassius. She knew he was a manipulative fraud from the very beginning. So why keep her mouth shut and risk her own freedom? Because she was protecting someone else? Someone who is still very much alive. Britt's desperate, seemingly irrational actions were driven by a paralyzing fear that if she exposed Cassius's true identity, this mysterious living person would be executed without a moment of hesitation. This is the heavy domino that changes everything, ladies. Brace yourselves, because this is where the theory goes completely off the rails in the most spectacular, heart-stopping way possible. What if the person Britt has been protecting all this time is none other than the real Nathan? Just let that monumental possibility sink in for a moment. What if Nathan did not die all those years ago in that tragic hospital scene? What if Britt discovered undeniable evidence that her beloved brother is still alive, being held in a secret, undisclosed location against his will? This would explain every single erratic, out-of-character decision Britt has made recently. She was not running from the law for her own selfish reasons. She was desperately trying to find a way to save him without triggering his execution. If she looks Liesel in the eye and tells her that Nathan might still be breathing, the shock will absolutely paralyze the formidable doctor, turning her world upside down. But the theory gets even darker and more complex. If the real Nathan is alive, then who is holding him captive? This terrifying question implies the existence of an unholy alliance between Cassius and a shadow organization that we have yet to fully understand. Cassius is not just a rogue twin acting out of jealousy or a desire for a family. He is a vital cog in a massive, terrifying machine. If Cassius and his sinister allies have been holding Nathan hostage for years, using him as ultimate leverage to force Britt into compliance, then the danger is exponentially higher than we ever imagined. The revelation of this unholy alliance is going to send Liesel on a ruthless warpath that will make Carly's hospital rage look like a minor, insignificant tantrum. Liesel will stop at nothing to tear down the world to find her son. And while Liesel is reeling from this impossible, mind-bending truth, Dante is about to deliver a crushing blow to his own family. We expect Dante to come home, wrap his arms around his loved ones, and offer comfort, to tell everyone that the worst is finally over now, that the Windermere siege has ended in tragedy. But that is not what is going to happen. Dante is going to gather his family in the living room and drop a sickening reality check that will shatter their fragile peace. He is going to reveal that the true mastermind behind all this chaos, the unseen hand guiding the violence, is still at large. The person pulling the strings, the grand architect of this entire nightmare, has slipped through their fingers and is actively preparing for their next devastating move against the town. Watching Rocco process this terrifying news is going to break our hearts into a million pieces. This poor, innocent boy has been through absolute hell, running for his life across islands, witnessing things no child should ever have to see. He thought he was finally safe, back in the protective embrace of his parents. But Dante's revelation is going to shatter that comforting illusion into jagged shards. Rocco will realize that the danger is not in the past. It is a dark cloud looming over their immediate future. The profound trauma of this manipulative scheme will leave deep, lasting psychological scars on him. How can he ever feel safe again, knowing that an invisible, powerful enemy is hunting his family? This realization is a heavy domino that will crush the innocence of the younger generation, pulling them deeper into the darkness of their parents' dangerous world. But the final, most explosive domino belongs to Lulu. Our intrepid, fiercely determined investigative journalist is not going to sit back and wait for the police to hand her redacted answers. She feels violated, having shared her life and her home with an imposter, and she wants the unvarnished truth. She is going to dig into Cassius's remaining belongings, searching every hidden compartment and encrypted file for any shred of truth in his massive web of lies, and what she finds is going to completely rewrite the history of Port Charles. I believe Lulu will uncover physical evidence, perhaps a hidden, weathered dossier or a heavily encrypted flash drive, that proves Cassius's deception goes far deeper than a simple, greedy twin swap. She will discover that Cassius did not just steal Nathan's life to enjoy the warmth of a family, he stole that identity to cover up a massive, decades-old secret that was never meant to see the light of day. What if Lulu discovers that Cassius assumed Nathan's identity specifically to hide the true identity of a secret prisoner who's been locked away for years in the dark? This is not just about Nathan anymore. The scope of this conspiracy is expanding rapidly. The files Lulu finds could point to a hidden black site prison, a desolate place where someone of immense importance to the legacy families of Port Charles has been kept isolated from the world. Could it be a legendary character we all mourned decades ago? Someone whose return would shatter the current power dynamics? Could this entire elaborate charade have been orchestrated by the Unholy Alliance to ensure that this mysterious prisoner never sees the light of day again? If this theory holds true, Lulu holds the golden key to unraveling a mystery that will rock the very foundation of the show. She is holding the final, heaviest domino, and when she pushes it, the fallout will be absolutely legendary. We are standing on the precipice of a storyline that promises to deliver the ultimate emotional payoff, ladies. From Carly's blind, destructive vengeance to Britt's heartbreaking, selfless sacrifice and Lulu's world-shattering investigative discovery, every single character is trapped in this vicious cycle of lies and danger. The writers have meticulously, patiently set up these intricate dominoes, and now they are gleefully flicking the first one over. The suspense is absolutely agonizing, and I cannot wait to see how these wild theories unfold on our television screens next week. But I have to ask you, as we prepare for this impending storm of drama and betrayal, if the real Nathan is indeed alive and being held captive by this unholy alliance, what will happen to Cassius when the true mastermind decides he is no longer a useful asset?